April 3rd, 2025. It's like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. We've been out here for the last hour. It's ridiculous. And these guys, look how they park right in front of my yard. And they move the garbage bins. And Marquin's running around out there trying to make them so we can have our garbage taken out. Yeah, they're always making noise with these cement trucks. It used to be all cement trucks parked out in front. Now it's all cars. Did you notice they cut down the 3 beautiful trees over there?
Yeah, well, need housing.
Housing? They're shadow buildings.
No, they're not.
Some of them are.
No, they're not.
This elderly 55 and over is a shadow building. It's 3/4 empty.
That's because it's for 55 and older.
Okay.
Probably too expensive for a lot of people.
And these other ones aren't?
No, those are full. Those are full.
They're. What are you talking about? They're being built.
Move. You didn't have to move.
Anyway, my son is more copacetic with it all. I'm not. I'm not. He says those ones down there are full, and whatever they're building here is going to be full. More like they're putting light timers on it and making it look like it's full. You wouldn't know unless you took heat sensors to it, right? That's already happened in 2016. Okay, bye-bye. Have a good day. Be safe. Oh, this guy's looking for parking. Don't be surprised if he doesn't. I am watching him. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna put this first, and then my little walk and talk through my video of May 26th of 2017, where I was out in the yard showing flat grass that was nicely mowed the day before, with purple flowers of all kinds growing all over the yard, right? And then I zoom in on the pond that I had cleaned the day before when I was mowing the grass. This was in 2017 of May, on 26th of May, right? And what do you call it? That actually had fish in it. After I cleaned it with Andre putting water back in after. Okay, so anyway. I think what I'm going to name this video is, what am I going to do? Now, I don't know, people. Obviously, today, I'm getting into my fridge. I have some pork there that I bought. It was frozen. I think it was like 4 days ago, so... But it's vacuum sealed, so more than likely it will be okay. I need to get into that, so I'm going to do that. And just cook up some more vegetables and just stay focused with Amari's, you know, building those calories with those nutrients and stuff, right? Right now he's got his little salmon with, sockeye salmon with celery, all grounded up with a little bit of mayonnaise. And he loves it. Oh man, he loves it. And then I cooked up some spinach, and of course grounded that up. You know, cooked up some kale, and grounded that up. So he's got his little kale and his little spinach, and his little salmon with, you know, this celery with the mayonnaise, and then there's some sweet potatoes that, you know, we can grind up, and Andre can add an egg into it or whatever. But that's running out, so I'm going to have to start cooking again today and tomorrow and replenish those little dishes. And, you know, people, that takes discipline, like it really does. And I'm not going to rush with this video because I'm under so much pressure all the time for one reason or another, right? And a lot of it has been manufactured over the years. And as I go into my videos and I'm listening to them and I'm looking at them, and then I put them in the playlist, and, you know, like in when I was, the previous video on May 24th of 2017, I was in the back behind the greenhouse up by the first compost box that I had made, and I built these little garden boxes, beds, right, to plant parsnip, and carrots, and beets, okay? And I also started a whole bunch of seedlings in the greenhouse, because in 2017 in April, you know, landlady comes by and let's clean up the yard, and but while you're at it, can you plant some extra food, because you know I've got drainage problems and I can't plant a garden. And I'm like, yeah, no prob, and you know, blah blah blah. And I'm working almost every day in April in the yard, right? Because she said get out and get those, you know, fix up the plumber's mess. Mainly that was it. And I was still working on the shed in the back. Okay, so either or. You know, and I'm also in the back up by the, you know, working in that area. I'm working everywhere in the yard for the month of April and the month of May, right? And I'm watching these videos and I'm listening and I'm talking about how I don't feel well, and you know, and I'm waking up with, right, you know, just whatever. Okay. Oh man. And my landlady wants me to plant fucking seeds this year. And for what, people? Like, I don't have the energy for it. I just don't. You know, like, Rhea's been helping me. Well, she hasn't been helping me yet, but we're making plans, right? And, like, if any seeds are going to get planted in terms of, like, starter seeds, it has to come from the X Club. It just has to. Because I don't have time or energy to be mucking around in the greenhouse by myself, setting up seedling trays so that my landlord can have vegetables, basically, and a Google image to promote her property when she wants to sell it, or perhaps rent it out after she gets rid of me. Okay? So, you know, I have to pick and choose my priorities, and it's like, well, what are you going to do? Because, you know, technically, I got the whip on my back, right? I haven't heard anything from the city. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't think my son has heard anything. My landlord's not telling me anything. They're not giving me the receipt for that bin, even though it's been, you know, long enough that they've already got it, and I should be getting a copy of it, being that I'm paying for $1,900 for what happened, right? And I'm being told to get back outside and get rid of this, get rid of your table, so that you have nothing to put anything on. So it doesn't matter what it is, right? You'll listen to it in my video after this. I'm not going to repeat myself. You know, I'm operating under fear, right? I'm afraid to put things outside for any reason at this point. And even after I put it there, I've been so traumatized by this, I'd be afraid to leave it there, because you just don't know. And what you're going to see after this little clip, okay, next, when I'm in May of 2017, showing you the beautiful front yard outside of maybe the walkway, because I was still working on that, right? But that wasn't my fault, because that was the second time I was required to do it. Otherwise, I would have been left with landfill, gravel, rocks, and sand, raccoon shit, and weeds, and cat shit. And I couldn't do that, so of course I was slowly but surely putting things back together after the plumber ripped it all up. But I wasn't doing fast enough, so my landlord put the whip on my back, start cleaning, yada yada, yeah, no prob. I'm working. Remembering. And I'm beating myself up for being a fool, literally, because I was getting sick, but I was ignoring it. My eyes were popping out in the morning or whenever, after I'd be in the yard all fucking day, right? With me bending over, having to blow my nose upside down like this, because it was so full of this, of the elements, of the minerals in the ground, and the heavy metals, and the arsenic, and all this other shit that comes in with frickin' dirt, all right? Just thinking about it, it just makes me livid. So, because I'm so trapped with it, people. I can't move. I can't go just find another house at a reasonable price and start fresh. And rearrange my life around Amari's needs first, then my needs, only because I'm going blind. And of course, Andre's needs. And anybody else that I may or may not be living with. Because I'm either going to be living with my son and his wife when I leave this place, or I'm going to be living with Rhea and her children. But with that comes pros and cons. And I already brought one of the cons up to her by saying, you do realize you've got 3 boys and I've got 2. So there's, at some point, there's going to be a lot of butting heads between the boys because they're competitive by nature, right? And then they, you know, they get more aggressive and, right? They take on different traits than girls, eh? And so I don't know if we can merge the two households together and coexist the way we were talking about it, because at some point, you know, it's going to blow up in our face. So if we were to share a place, right, so that, you know, I had an adult, a functioning adult close by to help me do what I need to do with Amari mainly, right? Okay. And then of course anything that will occur, I'm not going to say may, because it is occurring, right? That will occur as my eyesight deteriorates. But with that, we have to have two separate suites where we can close the door and lock it, where nobody can go in between, so that both families have, and my son wants this too for his wife, right? Like him and his wife. He said, Mom, if you're living with me, we need two separate suites where we can just, you know, call it a night. And I'm like, obviously, right, to some degree or another. And I would feel that way with Rhea and her kids as a safety buffer to prevent blow-ups because of just the way people are when they interact with each other on a daily basis, right? And, you know, I don't want to move Andre into a more stressful situation than he's already in relation to my housing circumstances, with the way I'm being treated with my landlords, and what is expected of me in order just to, I wouldn't call it living, people, when you can't have a freaking table in your backyard after you built up the amenities, shed, greenhouse, all that crap. I'm the one that built it, people, but I'm not the one that's allowed to enjoy it, because I'm not even allowed to have a freaking table out in my backyard, because the agenda is to promote an image. But yet I open up my door at 6:30 in the morning, like I did this morning, which you'll see after this, and then the video of May of 2017. And there's a whole bunch of freaking trucks driving up and down, you know, with the cement truck grinding and rolling, with a whole bunch of cars now parked in front of my house, because they're now going to start building on the corner another freaking ghost building, in my opinion, and just another shadow building, in my opinion, right? As they tearing down even more beautiful trees. Like, I don't even know where I went with that one. Oh, it's equality of living. Where's my quality of living? City wants nothing in my yard, gives my landlord, I don't know what kind of power she thinks she's got, people, in terms of she acting like she's God. God. Only God can tell me that I can't have a table in my backyard, as he's asking me to plant freaking seeds. Oh, you want me planting seeds, but you want me squatting down on the ground with my nose to the dirt to fill up little seedling trays with a bunch of seeds, put them in the greenhouse, walking back and forth, watering them all the time, and then put them in the ground as I'm working, you know. And don't forget, when this all started with the city of Surrey on, what was it, February 12th? No, January 12th. I think it was January. It was in the middle of winter, in the middle of freaking winter, right? January 12th. I'm pretty sure. I'm so stressed out, I don't know. Oh, what was I saying? So stressed out with it, people. I'm sure it'll come back to me, because now I don't even know. I just know that this is a whole, oh yeah, I don't know. So we got the dump trucks out there, so there's no quality of living with that. And my videos prove that, because I've been taking pictures of them, whether they're running up and down through the alley when they were working on that building, or whether they've been running up and down this road for the last 7, 8 years, because they built one building and now they're building another building next to it, right? As I'm being told I can't have nothing in my yard, but yet I can have 1,000,000 cars parked right outside my front door, and if it's not those, I can have freaking cement truck after cement truck after cement truck, all the way down and across the street on both sides, 7 at a time, at 6:30, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, grinding their cement outside my front door. But I'm not allowed to have a table in my backyard as I'm being asked to plant seeds. Okay. Because that's where I'm at. And I have to hide a child's tiny, tight play mountain from the predators in the community that don't like children. Because why else would you ask me to get rid of it outside of it's for Google Maps? But yet, is Google Maps picking up all these cement trucks and dump trucks and gravel trucks, and then the wood comes when big pallets, and they're like, these things are like, I don't know how many feet long, 35 feet long, right outside park with it grinding motor. You know, they cut down the Norway maple. Why? Because you know why they cut down the Norway maple, people? Because they needed it for the parking for the fucking dump trucks and the gravel trucks and whatever other truck, right? And then the workers' cars. But I'm just supposed to ignore that week after week after week after week, right? And not have the enjoyment of my yard, because I'm not even allowed to have anything in my yard anymore, because somebody has empowered my landlady to think that she's God and can come here and say, you can't have that, get rid of it. But yet ask me to plant seeds. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Because the only reason you'd want me plant seeds is for 2 reasons. It would be 1, obviously for Google Maps. Oh, it's a garden. Let's zoom in. Oh, yeah, she's got vegetables. I'd like to do it. I'd like that. Yeah, kick the bitch out, and I'll buy the house, and I'll move in and plant my own motherfucking vegetables. Or I'll rent it out for $5,500 a month and make a clear $3,000 and some odd dollars of profit until these houses are torn down, when they don't need them anymore for that fake image to say what a nice neighborhood this is, right? And I'm like, well, okay, you know, do you really want to talk about it on YouTube? Because people like to use your videos as a means to hurt you, because you say something, yada yada yada, and then later on something else happens in relation to maybe something you were talking about. Like in May, when I was in the back planting the parsnips and the carrots and the beets or whatever, I was talking about how I was working in the yard, and I've been working in the yard ever since I freaking opened my door and I realized what the hell was out there. But besides that point, and this was in May, before the city was called on me in June, and I was already sick in May of 2017, and I'm talking about how the last time, or whatever, I was talking about how people use right? Because I had the city call, like, okay, Uncle John, I'm pretty sure people, I have to get into my timelines, right? You can forget after time. Uncle John was medically kidnapped when he went into the hospital, basically, right? In January of 2015. And he disappeared on February 23rd of 2015. And soon after that, it was either before that or soon after that. I think it was soon after that. The city of Surrey was called on me because of the yard. And that's when Sook, right? You remember that famous name, Sook? Yeah. He had me out there. I was thinking 10 months, but in all the videos that I've been listening to, when I come across that information in regards to Sook, he had me out there for over a year, people. A year. Working in the yard at whatever direction he wanted me to do. And I had to comply, because if I didn't, my landlord held it against me and threatened to kick me out because I was causing trouble with the city. Okay? So I mentioned that in my video of May of 2017, and then how sometimes that comes back to back. Next thing you know it, I've got CPS, we call it out here in British Columbia, Canada, Ministry of Children and Family Development, questioning what's going on with Andre, right? So now I'm having to deal with social workers. So I'm not only dealing with the city, but I'm also dealing with the social workers. But at the same time, I was filing lawsuits against Fraser Health Authority and CIBC Bank and calling out the Duncan clan on YouTube, right? And they didn't like it. So what did they do? They took my videos. You know, at one point, my landlord came to me and said that people from the States were calling her and trying to get her to evict me. That's what she told me. She never provided me any proof, right? Because of the yard. It was always the yard, right? And if that didn't work, then they'd call the city, because if everything came to a screeching halt and started to implode, then I couldn't work on the lawsuit and hold anybody to account. Not that it made much of a difference anyway, because the whole system itself is corrupt, right? Too many people taking too many bribes, basically. So, you know, I'm watching these videos and I'm like complaining about being sick, and I'm explaining my symptoms, and I'm talking about being sore. And it's funny how I don't remember that part about basically being sore, because I get achy sometimes, right? Depends, like if I'm lifting heavy blocks of cement and rocks and buckets, you know, 5-gallon buckets full of dirt, 5-gallon buckets full of rocks, 5-gallon buckets full of sand, 5-gallon buckets full of freaking morning glory roots and just whatever, you know, and you're lifting up like 25 buckets in a 12-hour period. Of course you're not going to feel very well. But I pushed past it. And, oh yes, I remember now. So this last little bout with the city of Surrey, they specifically told me, my landlord and her son, when they brought the bin, that I wasn't allowed to do anything in the yard anymore. That it was removed from my responsibility in terms of it all fell on my son's shoulder now, right? But soon after that, if we've been listening to what I've been saying, that's not true, because my landlady still wants me to go out there and do this and this and this and this, including getting rid of my table now, right? But yet still plant seeds. So if I've been removed of being responsible for the yard, why the fuck are you asking me, I'm sorry, boo-boo, asking me to plant seeds? For what purpose other than you're the one that's going to get the bounty? Because by the time it's done growing, I don't have the energy to do anything with it. So yeah, take what you want, because if you don't take it, it's just going to go to waste. And in the past, it was like that. You honestly think I needed all that food? No, just take it, because, right, at some point, I did try to process it, but if I was in the kitchen doing canning, doing this, doing, next thing you know it, I got a knock on the door, and it's the city of Surrey complaining about the fucking yard, and that I'm not working hard enough and fast enough out there, and I need to get my ass back out there, because if I don't get my ass back out there, my landlord's going to be charged $15,000 for their boys to come in and do the job, and that will give the excuse for my landlord to kick my ass out. So what happens? Oh yeah, no, go ahead, Mrs. Gill, take the food, because I can't process it, because I'm too busy working in the yard. Right? You know that. But it's still growing. I know that. But I have to meet the expectations of whatever the city was expecting me to freaking do. Kind of like an Amari. You got a disabled child, right? And then you go to these workers from one team to another team to another team, where they all are expecting the miracle Amazon, you know, that will grow up to be 6'5", be a brain surgeon, will be a world leader, you know what I'm saying, and handsome, and a magnet for women. Because if you can't produce that out of that disabled child, there is something wrong with you. And that's the messaging that you're getting from these people when you come into contact, as they're saying, you know, we're here to help you with your disabled child, whatever the circumstances is, because it could be the feeding team, it could be the physiotherapy team, it could be the like the hip doctor, right? You know what I'm saying? It just goes on, it just keeps on going down the line. So, oh my God, people like I have to put my priorities. Okay, so what? Yada yabba, rabble, you know, just running you know how they say verbal diarrhea from your mouth? I'm just running verbal diarrhea from my mouth right now because I'm so stressed out. I got a child's mountain that I need to get out and put it outside somewhere where it's safe. Where it's safe. Not once should you ever have to think about living in a house where you can put out a child's toy, where it's safe, where somebody's not going to come and destroy it and take it away from you and belittle it and mock it and trivialize value just so that they can be in control of something, right? And that's, you know, and I'm like, okay, right. So I am going to go outside this week. Like, what am I going to do? And what am I going to do, people? Like, I can only do one day at a time, you know, right? And what you see after this will prove that even if I worked outside almost every day, okay, in April and May, it's still going to come back and not be enough. Because the city showed up in June of 2017. Because I'm pretty sure I remember why. It was because of the shed in the back. Because I was buying wood from Home Depot and getting Jerry to finish the frame. But I couldn't get Jerry to work on my time schedule. I had to wait until Jerry could do it. And yes, I did pay Jerry to frame it, which he did frame it up to code, because he was a framer, right? But I couldn't force him to do it any faster than what he was doing. And when I did say, come on, Jerry, we got to get this done, I'm going to go off and buy, you tell me what you need, I went off and bought it to get him going. Even then, I had to go back. Okay, the wood is there. It became a heat score, people, for the city to use that as an excuse to start putting the whip on my back to make me work even more harder than I already had been. And they kept the whip on my back. Well, in October of 2017, there's a video where I've got it titled that the city of Surrey is going to get me evicted. Because whatever I was doing, even though I had been out there already in April and was getting sick in April, was sick in May, was probably sick in June, was probably sick in July, probably sick in freaking August. But, you know, I didn't have a choice. It was either that or die. You know, it was either that or die, people. Okay, pack up and die. Pack up with nowhere to go. Because whatever situation I'm facing right now, I was facing the same situation in 2017 because of the housing corruption already en route. And it would have been very, very, very disruptive just to just to everything. Shmei was with me, Tisha was with me, Marcaine was with me, Andre was with me, and I was the one holding down the fort. So I had to be that workhorse in the field, that mule, that slave. Because if I wouldn't have done it, my landlord would have kicked me out based on what the city was doing to me, even though I'd already been in the yard in April. And I have the videos to prove that I was mowing the grass, cleaning the pond, and making everything look nice. And they completely ignored it. To only come back at a later date and then use the very bricks that I talk about, cinder block, to take a picture so that they could put something in the file to say that I had cinder blocks on the property and that somehow I was becoming irresponsible because of that, and I was a bad tenant because of that, which gave the landlord the right to evict me because of all that. That's what I'm up against. Nothing has changed. This is what I'm trying to say. Whatever I was going through in 2017, 2015, 2020, notice the dates in terms of that cycle, that pattern. 2022, or was it 23 when the city came back? 22. I'm pretty sure it was 2015, 2017, 2020, and then I think 2000 and 2022 or maybe 2023. So that would be 4 times that I'm aware of where the city of Surrey has come to my house and used the yard against me, even though I was already working in it. And then, of course, we have 2025, which is the last straw, I was told, because if it happens again, I get evicted, even though I was also told I'm not allowed to work in the yard anymore, have anything in the yard anymore, and that it was not my responsibility in any way to be involved with the yard because I did a lousy freaking job in all the years that I lived here. All right. But I got the pressure with my landlord to tidy it up a bit more and plant those seeds. But I won't have the energy to harvest anything. So when she comes by, I'll be like, yeah, go ahead, take what you want. I planted it basically for you, right? You know what I'm saying? It's amazing that it even got a chance to grow properly for the amount of energy that it will take for me to go outside, in and out, watering this crap, or whatever, as if I've got that kind of energy. But even if I could manage it, chances are I'm not going to want to process it very much. No. What for? It's not going to mean anything because the city can show up in freaking November and have me back working in the yard because my son didn't do general routine yard maintenance good enough, and now the yard was going gray again. And they'll pick another fucking random cinder block that's part of a border to take a picture so they can put it into their file and have that as evidence to build a case. So what am I going to do? Point of the video. That's the title of this video. What am I going to do? Because this is what I'm up against. And this is why I don't want to plant any seeds, because it doesn't mean anything. It's just an image. And I feel good for a moment when maybe you might want to eat something from it. Whether it's me, my son, maybe give some to Rhea, maybe give to Tisha, Mrs. Gill. It's just to feel good for the moment, but at what cost? And is there no guarantee that I'm not going to be harassed by the city of Surrey, or even by my landlord for that matter, because when she's telling me to get rid of my table through my grandson, and she can't say it was an April Fool's. Oh, it was April Fool's. I was only fooling. Yeah, okay, sure. That's why you told him to get rid of everything else that was left behind, even though there's hardly nothing out there left. Huh? But you're still reminding him that he's coming with seeds. Yeah, okay. Right. So, what am I going to do? I don't want to plant seeds. I told you, I'm at war with myself. I don't know what position I'm in this war, but the one that's inside of me that says, I don't want to plant the seeds. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to get sicker than I'm already sick, just so that somebody can come back, take what they want, right? And then I'm left to clean up after that fact. And if I, for whatever reason, can't do it fast enough, even though the yard is still being held against me, where I really can't do anything in it anymore because the table is gone, and anything that I'm doing, I'm having to sneak around and do it. Like if I want to do the tiles with the Dremel tool, you know, at some point you're going to need a table to put your wood down so that you can start doing your little mosaic. And because I know how to make freaking Ukrainian Easter eggs, people, with the pen and the ink from a traditional sense, do you not think that whatever's in my mind as I'm thinking about that mosaic, that my Ukrainian, if you want to say it, heritage isn't coming up to the surface, where I want to show Andre what it means to make a pattern? And you can do it with almost anything if you applied yourself. And in this situation, it will be done through a mosaic art, which is important for the body and the brain and the spirit to be able to get in touch with those things, so that when you come into hard times, honest to God, you know, it just helps to ground you with something, because I'm already in my head without the table. No table. So I guess I'm on the dirt, okay? The flat dirt that my son made out in the back, with my little piece of wood on the ground, with my nose to the freaking dirt, saying to the kids, come on, this is how you do it, right? You know, we're going to put this piece here, this piece here, this piece here. We're going to put a piece in the middle, and then we're going to build a pattern around it. And because I used to draw Ukrainian Easter eggs with the wax, with the pens, right? The wax pens, and then you put it into the die, and then you take it out, and then you do more, before you know it, you've got a beautiful Ukrainian Easter egg. I used to know how to make those things, people. Can I see today to make it? Probably not. But I see enough to be able to make a mosaic and teach my grandson how to make one, where my landlord and the city of Surrey and anyone else that stalks this freaking yard through that gang stalking freaking network, you know, they've made it where there's a part of me that has to be at war with that whole process, because I have to kind of do it in secret, as if it's a dirty secret, and I have to hide it from I suppose the predators, or the ones who are in authority that don't want me to do this shit, because they would prefer me to water the plants so that the food can grow, so that they can promote the fucking yard, as they've got big ass trucks going up and down, freaking people parking outside my bloody freaking door step all day until nighttime, right? Not to mention people just randomly walking into my yard trying to freaking do little, I don't know what the hell that shit was with that battery and that crap, if they're not in the, now running through the yard stealing what's left. Literally stealing what's left. Doesn't matter if it's in the garage, doesn't matter if it's in the yard, right? We just went through that. My son running around all over the place, finding a pile of this, finding a pile of that, right? Finding out that the neighbors, their shit's getting stolen. Well, welcome to the city of Surrey. That's all they did, is they opened it up to make it easy for people like that do that kind of shit, to cruise through my yard and steal. So nothing's safe. Nothing. Nothing. I have to hide it from them. I have to hide it from my landlord. I have to hide it from the city of Surrey. And I have to hide it maybe from some YouTube stalker that wants to do a repeat and phone the city of Surrey and complain that the yard looks like crap, because I have a child's mountain off to the corner that doesn't fit in with the scenery. That's all it takes. And because the city is on an agenda to free up a house for an immigrant family, 2 of them, up and down, doesn't matter where they come from, and they get kickbacks from the province and the federal government to get rid of families like mine, where does that leave me? Planting those seeds. Like I said, in November, it could be a simple cinder block out in the front that looked too gray for the city to come back and start all over again, with my landlord now saying, well, it's 6 times now, that's it. I told you, I warned you outside the last time when we came in the bin. If you get another call from the city, you, Judy, you first, you upstairs will be the first one to be kicked out. And then after that, well, there's no reason for your son to be there anymore, and we're going to kick him out too. After you ate my food, or you used it for a picture, because that's the only thing it would be for. So that little part of me that's at war, because you know I want to please my landlord, and it would be nice to have a few things growing, but honestly I don't have the energy, especially when I'm thinking about shit like this every day, talking about it too, and then getting scared that I'm talking about it, because we know people like Tamika Johnson-Dixon will take that and use it to her advantage to somehow twist it around to make it sound like I'm a lousy person, and therefore I deserve what I got from the city of Surrey and my landlord and anybody else that likes to trash my shit. Right? Like, it's stupid. I'm fucking stupid. So, I can't panic. There's a part of me that wants to start a few seeds. Clearly, I'm disturbed over these stupid seeds. Because I have them. I have everything I need. I just don't have the energy or the time. Plus, I got the whip on my back to get rid of still more stuff. So I have to choose, get rid of the stuff, get the whip off my back, or plant the seeds and cut my losses, because it will be nothing more than a loss for me in terms of energy and da-da-da-da-da-da, and then not have the energy or the stamina to repurpose it by, you know, canning it or freezing it or whatever. So I'm basically planting it for nothing outside of a few pieces of food. Nothing that I couldn't buy in a grocery store and save myself the stress. So that should not be the priority, right? And I can't change I'm talking to Andre, you know, we need to make some changes and da-da-da-da, and it takes time, and, you know, of course, talking about moving and all this other stuff and who we're living with and what would happen. And, you know, I've already spoken to Rhea about, well, gee, you know, we talked about the pros, and now we need to talk about the cons. And, you know, some of her children have disabilities, and, you know, I don't want to have to put Andre in the middle of more disabilities when we've already got a child with disabilities, you know what I'm saying, as a distraction or as an added pressure to what we're already dealing with when we're dealing with Mari. And, you know, so either or, there's, you know, it's not like I can pack up and move in a month from now, so I have to, whatever I'm doing, it will happen over time, but it's never feels, like I don't have no quality of life here, people. And honestly, I haven't had a quality of life for, I don't know, I'm not even going to put a date on it, because if I had to, I'd probably say from the moment I moved in, and once the pipe backed up after I moved my family in, and all the outlets started sparking and shit, like that's probably, it's just been hard. It's been hard, and it got harder, especially when I got out into the yard. And now that the gig is up after all these years, I don't want to fall for the debate and the bait. I don't want to fall for the bait and think, yeah, Judy, you have no money. Technically, it's in your best interest to plant food because you get to save money and then blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, no, I need to work on Amari's meal plan, getting more onto a schedule of making homemade breads, that kind of stuff. Using the food that I already have, which my son is in agreement. We just haven't come to that meeting of the minds yet. And that's where Rhea is coming to help me to organize Shemai's room, do a spot check, do whatever, right? And then once that's all done, and then she'll come upstairs and she's going to help me with some stuff up here, right? Then hopefully we'll be able to start using the stuff that I have. That's the focus. The focus isn't worrying about planting seeds, watering seeds, and then putting them in the ground so that I can have the city of Surrey called on me in November after everything's dead and tell me that the yard is too gray and that I got, you know, cinder blocks and I've got weeds and I've got this and I've got branches and blah, 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 because I didn't go outside after the fact of everything being eaten and then dying off in terms of the leftover foliage. And yeah, and then I'll be on the video complaining and crying on about how I'm getting evicted now because my last chance was used up. Even though when you go into my videos, you can see a lot of what I went through is nothing more than a setup. That's it. You want me to plant seeds so that I'll fail. Because I was planting seeds, I guess maybe that's the point of this video. And I'm going to end it, okay, because I'm just rattling right now because I need to save my energy to work on what I need to work on so that I can make plans to go out next week with Amari and Andre, because I need Andre to help me, but I can't leave Amari by himself. So it's not like I can take Amari outside in this weather for any length of time, people. Right? So next week, hopefully we'll get outside just for a couple, 2, 3, 4 hours, depending on the weather. Because I need Andre to help me to make it go faster. Right? I told him that circle part where you need to finish the walkway in the front, he can dig it out and he can learn how to place everything in there. It's not very big. And while we're working on it, we're going to work on the pond, okay? And I'm going to tell him to go look at the pond in the next day or two. I'm going to show them where I think we should build in a fountain, and I want it on 3 levels where the water comes, right? Okay, and then it drops, it goes into a little something, and then it drops, and then it goes into a little something, and then it drops into the main pool. Okay, whatever was taken out of my yard, I could have done that, but now that that shit's not here, I can't do that unless I've somehow improvise by maybe cutting an existing bucket that I do have, or going to MCC and buying something that would work to be able to build that in theory, as you're working on your mosaic to decorate that whole little system that you're building in, right? Piece after, okay, figure out where we're going to put it, figure out how we're going to do it, like, right? Get them thinking. Okay, and I'll explain to you why it's so important, especially right now, in this time of Andre's life, because he's going through a growing spurt. He's coming into quite a few milestones here, people. And, all right, so let's just focus on the pond for a minute. What am I going to do? Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have Andre, starting today, to start Googling how to make pond fountains, so he can look on YouTube, get a visualization of it, right? And then I'm going to take him outside at some point between today and tomorrow or whatever, and I'm going to suggest where I think this should be. I want it 3, boom, boom, boom. Comes in from the top, drops down, drops down, drops down, right? And then it goes into the main pond. And then once we figure out how to do that in terms of, because you have to support the ledges, right? We have to figure out how we're going to build the ledge between the drops. And then what kind of, so after you do that, you take your lining and you put it over everything, and then it's best to cement in rocks, river rocks, along the sides of it, to the base of the pond, not only for aesthetics, to make it look real to one degree or another, but also to hold everything into place so that it doesn't warp over time. And that's where I'm going to build in some of this mosaic, and then probably cement it right in as we're cementing the river rocks with the fountain, in theory. So not only are we going to go outside and empty planter box with rocks, hide a few planter box with rocks, I'm not even going to worry about the table right now. Maybe it was an April Fool's joke. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what kind of heat score that table really becomes, because that's the last thing on my priority list. Because the last time I thought about it, I'm going to need that table. I've been planning for that table for a long freaking time. Okay? You understand what I'm saying here? Right? If I had to choose Andre doing this on a table outside in the back, or doing it in a fucking muddy, dusty, gritty, freaking God knows what ground, which one would you choose? I choose the table. So I'm not going to worry about the table. So when we go outside, quickly do, keep Mrs. Gill happy with these planter pots, with these rocks, blah, blah, blah. Let's experiment with the Dremel tool, not only with the tiles, but also with the walking stick, because I always wanted to, because you know I work on the nonprofit, people. Well, I still have it. You know, once I get my life more in order, Rhea and I will get maybe more involved, and because she's faster, and if Andre learns how to do more e-commerce on the internet with things that I'm selling, with Rhea helping, right, then, you know, we could get into maybe selling XG Kid hats and all this other crap for the foundation, but I would obviously need help with that, but we're not there yet. So in the meantime, I really need to stay focused on the things that I talk about. It's because I'm tired and I haven't even started my day yet. And I'm always worried and stressed out and having panic attacks. And when I think of a solution, like taking that, I know where to take that little green mountain, but I'm so scared to put it there. I'm so scared to put it there. Which interrupts your quality of living. Yeah. So yeah, and then after that, The walking sticks. Oh yes, the walking sticks. When I got them, it was when they were tearing down those 100 trees where they built that 55 and over building. And Sierra helped me to bring them home. And what I wanted to do was, and I've said this before, but I've never been able to muster up the energy for it, because I was always working in the yard, basically, was set up some tables by the front yard, right? And make it available for the people walking up and down the streets to pop in and, walk, like, I don't know, maybe make a donation or something for the foundation to, or to take things with them, right? Because I had the sticks and I wanted to promote people making their own walking sticks. So I was going to have a table where the kids, like Jude and Andre and maybe a couple of other little kids that lived in the courtyard next door at that place over there, once a week or twice a week they'd come and sit at the table and they could work on their walking sticks as a community program, right? As well as have the other table where, people could make a small donation to take something with them to follow up with their project at whatever they were going to do in terms of whatever I was doing in terms of just promoting, like, activities for kids, that kind of thing, or whatever, right? That never happened. So those sticks have been sitting there forever. Like, I always planned on sharing them with the community one way or another. And, like, I do want to bring 2 out, one for Andre, one for me. I guess we're going to have to look on YouTube and whatever else we can find how to wood carve, right? A walking stick, right? And then, again, experiment with the Dremel tool as we're working in the yard. I'm working. Andre's too young to have the whip on his back, although he's being conditioned for it, and that's what really pisses me off, too. Is psychological warfare, right? But you see, here, somebody's got his back. Well, a couple people got his back, actually. It must be a man thing. It's almost like Andre's going into a rite of passage with the men in his life. In how, for example, Brooks, my oldest son, is getting Andre a cell phone. Apparently has one for him. But he wants Andre to take a bus and go all the way out to Richmond to pick it up. And I said, no, that ain't happening. This is 2025 and kids go missing. As a matter of fact, 2 kids just went missing in Surrey over the last week. Andre told me that yesterday. And the cops are looking for him, can't find him. There was an 18-year-old in November of last year. I can't remember, Joseph something, where he disappeared and was found dead in Delta. A month later. Yeah, okay. Anyway, and then he has a little job now where he gets to drive an electric powered lawnmower with a steering wheel. Isn't that interesting? And he's learning how to use a power washer. Isn't that interesting? And he's building a relationship with his employer, I guess you could say, who is kind of like a mentor. Took him under his wing, right? Because apparently he's got a big yard and he's getting on, he's 60 years old, eh? And he works, right? But, he's getting tired and all he has is daughters. So it's maybe like a long lost son for him or something, right? And, he's teaching and he's giving him he's giving Andre the opportunity to learn, right? And paying him for this a little bit, right? And so there's a mentor there, right? That will, and then what it does is it opens up the conversation for me to now, and also Mark Kane, because Mark Kane says, well, if you got a job, whatever your boss tells you to do, you just make sure you do it and don't say nothing. Just do the best that you can, right? So he's getting mentorship from Mark Kane, because Mark, like, you got a job? Like, oh, yeah, sure, buddy boy. He goes, no. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, well, this is my advice to you. And, of course, it opens up the conversation for me to remind Andre that, yes, you need to be respectful. You know, if he asks you to do, you do it the right way, right? You put 150% effort in it with a good attitude, right? Blah, 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 blah. You know, it's important that he learns to trust you and there's a reason why people are dependable, right? You know, you have to learn to be dependable. You can't be tardy, blah, 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 blah. So it keeps that conversation, because I struggle with him with house chores, because it's too easy for him to slough it off, which is building in bad habits. Where what he's doing is counteracting those bad habits, where I can reinforce through conversation good habits, so that in 3 or 4 years from now, because he told me that at some point Brad wants to take a holiday with his family, and because Andre knows the routine with the yard, Andre can cut the grass when he's gone with his family on holidays and maintain the yard without them being there. I said, oh, okay, if that's what he told you, then that's telling you, Andre, that he wants to establish trust with you, where he can trust you to be dependable. That's what I mean by opening up the conversation. So now I can really reinforce that from a different playing field versus at home. Andre, Nana's going blind. You do realize that. If you don't help more, be more responsible. It's okay to grow up and become responsible. Life is work. The older you get, the harder you have to work. Life can become mundane. It can become, it's repetitious, right? You got to do dishes all the time. You know, you're doing this. You got to take out, right? It's like it never ends. It becomes repetitious. After a while, it becomes mundane. You know, it can lead you into getting into a rut where, you know, you become moody with it, right? But at the same time, you can't allow that to distract away from not doing it, you know, because you kind of like, you know, and he takes and he just throws it. Or he takes and, you know, he's doing something and you know, putting that over there. And I'm like, and I come and I touch and it's like, ew, right? Or I put my hand down, right? Because I see something, I pull it out and it's like, well, that's not supposed to be there. It's a good thing I freaking found it, right? Because, you know, he's sloppy. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's really hard for me to talk to him, to learn to, you know, take responsibility, be dependable, right? Learn to multitask so that, you know, you clean as you go, especially when you're cooking. You know, it goes in one ear and out the other ear. But with his little job, it's because it's a different playing field with, I suppose, male mentorship, right? On different levels, because he's got 3 males right now who are mentoring him to one degree or another. He's got Uncle Marcaine, he's got Uncle Brooks, and he's got Brad now, right? They're all men. Okay. Where me, I'm just a nana with a screechy voice that starts to sound like a broken record. So if I'm trying to teach him to be responsible, dependable, yada yada yada, and this is one way to do it, by helping to be proactive with keeping your environment clean versus just wanting to play a computer game now that he knows how to stream. Do you know he did a 12-hour stream? I said, he showed me. He's been showing me what he's been doing, eh? He learned how to stream now on Twitch. And he showed me his little streams. He's got like 15 of them over the last, I don't know, month or something. And one of them was 11 hours long. Try talking to him about that one and getting him to accept that that was too long. Right? Oh no, there's nothing. And he thinks he can just do that and ignore everything else around him. Whereas when he's out with the men, I suppose, working at the job, whether he's helping Marcaine do something or now Brad, right? He seems to be responding better. And then it's easier for me to mentor him to be dependable. Because if Brad is already telling you that he wants you to watch the property when he goes for 2 or 3, 4 weeks with his family on holiday, because he worked his whole life and now he's retiring and he's getting old, and he's allowed you to grow into a position where he can fully trust you to give you the keys to the shed to drive that electric motorized lawnmower to groom his grass so that the city doesn't come knocking on his door while he's on holidays, basically. Well, Andre, you know, like, you're one lucky little boy at 14 years old to even have that opportunity in today's terms. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And already he's got his little friends asking him if they can go work with him. And I said, Andre, I know, don't do that. That's not what this is about. He hired you. He said, yeah, you're right, Nana. I already said no. Because he knows it will become a distraction. He knows it will become competition, right? He knows that he won't be fully focused on what he needs to do. So there's a milestone right there, because he did make that decision for himself before I even said no. But he made sure he told me what was happening with his friends. And for a 14-year-old to make that decision with the foresight to know that at some point in the future, providing that he can be trustworthy and understand what it means, and to be dependable, and to understand what it means, and to be able to follow through on it. But the thing is, Andre, if you can't follow through on not being dependable at home by cleaning up after yourself, then, and you see, now we're going to get into this conversation, because we're at that plateau where he needs to understand that being dependable comes responsibility. That's a part of growing up. And you can't fracture that right in terms of being an adult, because sooner or later he's going to be an adult, and he's either going to be a dependable one or he's not. It's not a 50-50. I'm not saying that people can't have situations happen where they're not always available to something that they say they could do, but 80% of the time, up to 90% of the time, a little more if you're on the job site, you're either dependable or you're not. You either know how to clean up a kitchen properly and keep up with it on a daily basis, because it's just a fact of life, and life can get hard and it can get mundane, but you can't run away from your responsibilities. If you get good at that, then you become dependable, which makes you even more dependable at the job, because it's already built into your character, right? I'm still building things into Andre's character. Okay? So that when he is at the job site, wherever that job is, even if it's with Brad in 4 years from now, watching the property for a couple of 2, 3, 4 weeks while he's out with his family, having a vacation, I mean, what grandmother wouldn't be proud? I'd be very proud if he ever got to that point where that man could trust Andre to do the job. Because Andre is a dependable, trustworthy, hardworking young person that has critical thinking skills and clearly can do the job. I told Andre, by the end of summer, you keep doing what you're doing in addition to whatever we're doing in this yard. I said, you're going to go through a growing spurt and you're going to start buffing up. You know, you're going to get your little buff up muscles, and your body is going to start to change. It's going to adjust to it, right? And, but, you know, he figures when he comes home, you know, he just needs to rest, and to hell with everything else, and to heck with the nana wants in the house. I'll just throw this here and throw that there, and, you know, and say I don't have to do this, and I don't hide this bowl over here. You know, I'm still at that, well, no, there's, you know, if you're going to be dependable on the job, Andre, well, here's your opportunity to be dependable at home, because there's going to come a day when maybe Nana just won't be able to do it at all. And if you can't do it, then what happens? In comes the clowns? Yeah, okay, as if we need more clowns on the scene, right? No, I don't think so. So that's where I'm at with Andre. So not only is he teaching himself how to do live streams and thinks that he can do a live stream anytime he wants, when he wants, and that I should not interrupt it because it's so important, right? But yet refuses to put his freaking wrappers or macaroni box containers into the recycling bin or the garbage, you know, but yet wants to run off and do that. And oh, okay, so anyway, Andre's on a good path, really good path. He's got 3 male mentors, well, and 1 female, me, basically, right? But I don't like the messaging that's coming with this authoritarian behavior of said individuals who clearly have an ulterior motive for personal gain. And I don't think it's just vegetables. Whether it's from a city perspective or from my landlord's perspective. In terms of keeping me out in the yard working. Even though I was told I was not responsible for nothing out there and that I had no right to be out there anymore. But yet, if something went wrong, I would be held to account. Like, if that's not doublespeak with forked tongue, I don't know what is. And that's the kind of shit you come into contact when you go to court. You get a lot of doublespeak. Anytime, really, when you come into contact with public union sector workers who are corrupt and, I don't know, operating on some sort of plane where they're just out to hurt you. Yeah. And it's really unfortunate that we have to be sneaking around with tiny tight mountains in the yard, hiding them from God knows who, right? Or worrying about whether we have a table or not, or if we can keep the table, and if we do keep the table, what's going to happen because we kept the table, and, you know, is that going to be the catalyst to start up whatever, and what's the point of planting seeds if by November they're just going to come and pick some random cinder block that's part of a border to take a picture to say it's all too gray. You know, you need to do this, you need to paint that in the fucking middle of November as if paint will dry properly. I mean, it's just stupid shit like that, people. Like, so I can only do what I can do in a day. Talking about this stuff, well, you know, it's the reality of my world, and I know other people are going through similar situations, if not worse. If not worse. I put I made, like, clearing out crap, right? I had some old soup and tomato cans that have been sitting around forever, since 2015, some of them. And some flour, you know, Ziploc bags sitting around, whatever. It's just there, right? And so anyway, and a little coconut milk, those Ziploc thing, you know, those little cardboard carton containers with the mylar on the inside. Anyway, that was there. I don't know. And then I put it all in a bag, and I put on one bag of the flour for dog food, because I don't know, I can't see, right? I didn't know if there was some moths in it or not, right? Because, you know, it'd been sitting in a bucket for a long time, because I took them out of a bucket for something else. I put something else in the bucket. And then it was just there, so I'm like, I was thinking to keep it to do paper mache with, but right now I didn't care, right? Like, I've been, you know, keeping some of this stuff to do paper mache with the kids, something we could have done on that table. If that table goes, I could have done paper mache with the kids outside in the back. But I decided, no, I'm just gonna, you know. So I put it all in a bag. I threw in one can of chicken jalapeno spicy chunky soup, and that I had just recently bought over the last month or two, and a can of beef stew that has been recently bought, just so that if a homeless person found it, because, you know, that's probably who took it, or maybe somebody that wanted it for dog food, okay? I left it outside. It was gone before the day was over. It went that fast. So I mean, there's always somebody out there that has it worse than you. Whether the dog got to eat it because their master made him a meal, all right, with that food, or whether the person ate it, doesn't matter. It was better than throwing it out in the garbage or in the compost, or leaving it just loiter around on my floor because I had the cans of soup in a box, right? But I'm not doing anything with them because I'm still busy with other things. And I thought, oh, you got tomato soup already around the house. Newer cases from downstairs. If you want, you can go get those, right? And whoever opens those cans, because some of them came from 2015, they'll know. They're not stupid. They'll know if it's good or not, right? The only time you wouldn't want it is if it would be black inside, because it somehow the air got inside and started to eat through the can, because that's what tomatoes will do. But these cans were intact, so chances are the food inside will be intact. And because they never came into disruptive temperatures, in terms of, I didn't have them where they froze and then unthawed and then I opened the can after the fact, which would make the food, doesn't matter what it is, taste a little more tinny. But those cans basically were at room ambient temperature for the duration of how many years? So if you don't want to eat it and you don't want to give it to your dog, well, you can throw it out, because I wasn't going to open each can to make sure it was okay. I just made sure that nothing was bulging. From what I could tell, nothing was leaking. It went into there. I put in the flour, which I could have used either for bake. I thought, well, you know, I got to get baking. It's in a bag. It's easy now. Just get rid of it. It's in the way, right? But I could use it for freaking paper mache. That's why you kind of been hanging on. Well, no, I don't have time for paper mache. So somebody might want it for themselves or for their dog. Put it in the bag, right? Well, you just can't give them old food, because I gave them this little carton that was, you know, coconut something from who knows when, because I couldn't see the date on it. I just know I'd never use it. So I put that in there, and I think I put something else in there. I don't know. And then I thought, well, you know, if just in case it's a homeless person that picks it up versus somebody that has a dog and just wants extra food to make dog food, because who else would take it, right? You know, I put in 2 up-to-date meals to compensate for what was outdated, expired. But just because it was expired didn't mean that it didn't have value. Whether I was going to use it or whether somebody else used it. And in this situation, I got to clear out the kitchen. Come on. Right? I got lots of flour around here for paper mache if I ever get a chance to do paper mache with the kids. And actually, now that I brought it to my attention, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should make a little list of the things that we can do in the backyard, being that it's nice and open, and, you know, not everything has to be work, because, you know, we're gutting this, gutting that, gutting, and working on the hen house, and working on Mr. Lace's cat house, and, you know, doing this and doing that in terms of, you know, cleaning out this and checking for, see if any rats got in, and if so, you have to rat proof it, and that's all work. Paper mache, that's play. That sounds fun. Making mosaic, that's play. And I'm already, with my Ukrainian heritage, designing as a template to show the boys what to do. And it's going to be, I'm telling you, once this starts, okay, if I have the stamina and the energy for it, and the opportunity, because right now I feel like I have absolutely 0 opportunities allowed in this yard, because God forbid if I bring out that shit and start making a mess, it'll be another fucking heat score. What are you doing? Well, I'm making mosaic art for the pond. Oh yeah, but it's like, it's getting in the way of making everything look nice around here. You got 1 week to clean it up, because if you don't clean it up, we're going to charge you $10,000 to come in here and pick up your little tiles and your Dremel tool and the few other little things that you got loitering around that shouldn't be there, because you remember we were told you're not allowed to use the yard anymore. That's all psychological warfare, people. This is what my grandson is fucking having to deal with from on a child's perspective. So with these 3 men taking interest in my grandson, mentoring him to become a man, and giving him opportunities, I'm very grateful for that. So I'm going to put this down, because I'll forget. I'm going to make a list of the things I want to do in the summertime, assuming I get a chance. Paper mache. And then mosaic. I don't know how to spell it. Okay. This video is longer than I expected, but whatever. It is what it is. This is important stuff, at least in my life. So yeah, if my son gives him, Brooks, a cell phone, everybody wants to give him a cell phone. Tisha wanted to give him, no. Marcane, I'm like, no. Brooks already said he got it. So, you know, plus I've been thinking about cell phones, and so I just told Andre, if you get a cell phone, you're only allowed to use it when you go out. Can I use it when I go to the grocery store to go buy this? I said, yes, obviously you can take it with you. Can I take it swimming with me? I said, no, because you'll get robbed, right? And if Jude's already there with his phone, you don't need two phones there, right? Because, you know, it's very easy for these kids to get addicted to this crap, right? I said, what we're going to do with it is you're going to learn how to do live streams. Because, you know, he wants to be a quote-unquote streamer, or at least part-time anyway, which is not a bad thing, because for a kid who can't read, he can do a whole lot of shit on the internet that I can't do, okay? And he figured out how to live stream on Twitch using their streaming services. He showed me something on the computer that I don't even know what I don't even know what the software was. I don't know where it came from. All I know is that it's another streaming service. So then that brought me to the subject of XSplit. And I told him, well, I like XSplit because you can do screen share. Can you do screen share with this, right? So it's a new conversation. So over the next couple of 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, I'm going to introduce him to XSplit on this computer. And being that he's so good at flipping things around, he should be able to manage that. And if he has a cell phone by that time, and I've got cameras, well, then, you know, I told him we're going to run streams on my channel just as practice, right? To you know, to see what happens, to get you learning a new skill, right? Building on the skills that you already have. Because that's how Andre learns best. As I'm encouraging him to still take the word, write it down 3 times, do that for a week, and then, you know, don't look at it, see if you can spell it, because if you don't do those exercises, at least for a period of time, don't expect to be able to remember the word, how to read it and write it and spell it like that, like you would once you learn how to ride a bike, if you didn't invest the time into it. So we still haven't gotten to that point where he's willing to reinforce, but in terms of reading and comprehension, he's doing pretty good. And now that he's being physically active, so what do? Yesterday, I bought 2 bags of 10-pound potatoes, obviously on sale with my PC points, all right? I got PC points, so and I told Andre, well, now that you're being more physically active, your body's going to kick in, and it's going to grow to meet the demand on it, right? And you're going to come into a growing spurt, so you have to, like, you know, provide your body with good nutrients. So what am I going to do? Where am I going with things? Well, I have to prepare for that. So I bought 2 big bags of fresh potatoes, and I told him that he needs to start eating potatoes almost every day. It doesn't matter if they're mashed potatoes, pancake potatoes, fried potatoes, boiled potatoes, baked potatoes, potato salad, whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? To build the muscles as he's doing what he's doing. Because he's working at this point once a week with Brad. And then, of course, there's going to be some things he's going to be doing outside as well, like cutting the grass and all that, right? He's offering to cut the grass here. He's not even waiting for Marcane to do it. Or maybe he just knows that Marcane will ask him to do it. So he's prepared to cut the grass out here. So that's good. Right? And maybe in a month from now we'll try some live streams. And I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, because, you know, you got to be, you know, you kind of have to have a routine. I'm not going to report on news. I'm not going to be a Bumpy Johnson or a quote-unquote leak. Latrice Allen or Rosalind Knight chopping it up with Raw Squad. Leak. Bumpy Johnson is Latrice Allen. I can't get on that bandwagon. I don't have that kind of gift of gab for the kind of things that they talk about, right? And they do what they do mainly for themselves, to profiteer for themselves, because they treat it as a job, I suppose. A lot of people depend on that kind of crap. For me, it's still egging in my background in the head there, you know, when you got those walking sticks, you know, like, you know, don't forget about the community, even though half of it's in the garbage bin. You know, don't forget, things will get better. Yeah, until November comes and they start attacking my cinder blocks again, saying it's too gray. So through all that, I'm just going to call it a day, put this video up as is. It is what it is. I can't change things. I can only brace myself for what's coming. Pace myself through what I'm working on in multiple areas. Not everything can get done in a day. As long as you're inching forward, you make changes where you can make changes in your life. Try not to worry about the things that you can't change, right? You know how they say that. Just work on changing the things that you can change, and that's why I put those cans of old tomato soup, the flour, yada yada, into the bag. But within hours, that bag was gone, people. Okay, and I'm not looking around for a few more things to fill up another bag here and there, just to alleviate some of the, you know, whatever. Because, like, you know, I'll get into another something, and there'll be some beans in there that I just don't want, right? And I can put that in there, you know. I might find another bag of flour that I could use. Actually, before I throw out the next bag of flour, I'm going to be doing paper mache. Paper mache is on the list for outside activities, with or without a table. Okay, I'll put down outside activities. And I'll put this, I'm going to write it out again somewhere else. And then I'm going to start a little list. I want to post it on the fridge, so I don't lose sight of it and get overwhelmed with whatever I'm having to deal with in a month or two, regardless of what it is. Do you see? As a matter of fact, I don't even have to rewrite it. I can just put this on. I can just keep adding to the list. I'm going to put shed repairs, because that's the big one. Now, if Rhea comes, now I could start seeds, and she has a child that's like 5.5. I'm sure he'd enjoy it. Her younger one has, I don't know. So I don't know how she's going to control him, but either or. If she can come by the second week of April to help me to get into the X Club, I'll end it on this, okay? So that we can pull out that child's desk, a couple of little chairs that are in there, I suppose, because whatever was in the yard was thrown out, literally. And just get me out, get me started on clearing it out. I could gather up what I need for some seedling trays, and everybody can throw some seeds in there real fast. I suppose see if they grow. Yeah. But I'd want to work on clearing out the X Club, because it needs some repairs to the best of my ability. And I'm changing the things that I can change. So she'll get some stuff in there for kids, because I'm not putting it all back in there. I'll put some, but not all of it. Don't need it. And then make things handy like the microscope. Oh yeah, let's write down microscope activities. So this is where microscope. This is where in my travels, not that I can see these books very well anymore, but I should be looking for a few books that are child-oriented where you can use a microscope to look under whatever. I have to gather up the microscope stuff. I have to look for it. It's been a long time. Microscopes. I should have a large, extremely large telescope. I'm hoping that is still around. That was under the cubby that was I don't know. I won't know until I find it. So telescope, that's something else that we can do out in the back. See, garden isn't even on the list. But I'll put garden there anyway. Because if Rhea comes and helps me to empty out that X Club a little bit, that will motivate me. It will open it up. And being that she's there, it doesn't take much to... The trays are mostly there, right? Already filled with dirt. Easy. Right? Oh yeah, start some seeds. Sure. But if you don't, Judy, come July, you'll regret it, because you'll have just nothing growing in the yard, and then people will be bitching at you that you've got nothing growing. Half your flowers are gone, and there's no vegetables. What are you doing? Why do you got garden beds if you're not growing anything? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so it's what? April 2nd of 2025? This working on my playlist is taking a while, but anyway, I'm going through these videos one by one, and I'm watching them, right? Taking notes or whatever, just, you know, just following up on crap here, okay? So in April of 2017, I think it was April, yeah, something like that, or May, April, I think it started in April, my landlady is asking me to do yard work because the plumber ripped up everything and in the front there and the main line pipe and dug up 4 years of work with walkways and yada-yada, and it wasn't being put back fast enough because that stuff takes years to do. But besides that point, what do you call it? And she asked me to plant more food that year because she was having drainage problems and she couldn't plant a garden, so she wanted me to plant more food. So of course I was willing to accommodate her. So in the meantime, I'm going through these videos and like I'm out there like a lot, like almost every day. Like seriously. Now, we're in May of 2026. I'm sorry, May 26th of 2017. And on May 24th, I was in the back starting seedlings, right, to plant more food. Plus, I built a couple of garden boxes to plant carrots, parsnips, and beets and that kind of thing, right? Because, you know, I got a weed problem and, you know, raccoon problem and a morning glory problem. So, you know, I'm building and doing whatever. So I've got, you know, the garden boxes now there up by the compost box, up by the greenhouse. And I'm, you know, doing seeds, and I'm putting in long hours, people. And I'm listening, and I'm complaining that I'm not well, that I don't feel well. I wake up sick, and, you know, I get up in the morning, and I have to turn my head upside down just to be able to blow out my nose, because my face is always to the ground with the dirt if I'm not in the front, up by the walkway that they ripped apart, you know, sifting out rocks that now in 2025 my landlord wants me just to throw down on the freaking ground because she's, you know, looking for a perfect image for Google Maps, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm digging up garden beds because she wants more food. So, you know, but I'm getting sick, but I'm complaining about it, people, but I'm not doing anything about it. I'm working. Now, this was before the city was called on me. I think the city was called on me in June. But I already started working in April, and going through these videos, I was out there almost every day. And I was sick, and I was waking up sick, and I was waking up with my ears screaming. I was going to bed with my ears screaming, with the ringing in my ears, right? The pressure in my head. I even mentioned that my eyeballs felt like they were going to pop out, for crying out loud, with me putting my head down between my legs practically just to be able to blow out my bloody nose because of all the grime and the grit and the sand and the dirt and the mud and the algae and the histamines from the weeds that I was coming into contact almost daily, people, because, just routine yard maintenance. It's all about just routine yard maintenance. No, there was nothing routine about what I was doing, but I had no place to go. I was, in 2017, I was getting $677 on a welfare check, okay? And an $800 check to look after Andre. That was it was, 670 and 800. That was, oh my God. Oh, what was it? 1477. That's what I had to live on for the month. Right? My rent was $1,700 a month. In those days, if she got rid of me, in terms of my landlady, right, kick me out, she could have gotten 24 easy peasy, if not more, because everything that I had already built by then. Right? So, okay. And then I had my hydros and stuff. Of course, the kids are downstairs. Marcane was downstairs. He was in college. And, he was paying something like $450 or something like that, or $350 or something like that. It was cheap in those days, right? Maybe $400, $350 or something like that. I think Tisha was paying maybe a little something. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't old enough yet. I don't know. Shimei was. And of course, Julian was around, but Julian, it was a hit and miss with Julian, right? Because he felt like he never had to pay rent, even though he felt that he had the right to live here. But besides that point, so I was on a bare bone budget. That's what I'm trying to say. Plus, I got stuck with all the bills, and with CIBC Bank, that's when I was, in the middle of trying to sue them and stuff like that, and they were kicking out my bank card with John's because they wanted to cover up what was going on in his bank account when they put him into the old folks' home. So they committed fraud through which I just phoned a credit agency over Shimei. I guess after all these years, she had a cell phone or something, and the bill never got paid, and they sent me some notice to say that they were coming after her with collections. I phoned them up. I said, "Excuse me, no, she's dead. She died in 2018. So now I have to go looking for her death certificate, right?" And when I'm out there digging around looking for her death certificate, I'm going to pull out the CIBC Bank freaking lawsuit file folder and the Fraser Health file folder. They're almost the same, but I'm going to find two of them and send full copies with the lawsuits in regards to the orders or whatever, or what happened with CIBC Bank, which was nothing, because I wasn't going to go to court and face the same riffraff that I had to deal with when I was, with Fraser Health Authority, and be bamboozled. So I just never went back to court in terms of having it thrown out, because they wanted to throw it out. And because Fraser Health was successful at it, and I seen how crooked they were when they did it with the judge, because they were, in cahoots with each other, I said, no, I'm not even going to give CIBC Bank that opportunity. Because, what for, right? Because, so it's, in my mind, still pending, because I've never gotten anything in the mail to say that it's been removed off the court roster. So I'm just going to send all that information to the head office in Toronto with CIBC Bank, and I'm going to ask them to do an internal investigation. Now, whether they do it or not remains to be seen. They probably won't. I don't think they would, but I'm going to ask them anyway, right? And then who knows what I'll do with it, okay? Because we still got Andre's little trust account hanging on a fine little thread where it requires John's signature after all these years, since 2015, and my signature to release a measly $92 after the fees that they've taken out of it, because the account's been dormant because I haven't put $5 in it in the last 2 years. So therefore it's going into a dormant stage, right? So I just got to go to the bank, put in $5, and then it's active again. But I can't do jack shit about it because, you know, John just magically disappeared. Well, I wonder why. Well, it's up to head office to read what I wrote, right? And go investigate their criminals within their bank cartel of criminals that commit fraud and steal other people's money. All right, anyway, that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is, so I'm going through these videos, right? And I'm listening to them. It was taking a while, but that's okay. And I'm working. I mean, clearly I was complaining about being sick, right? But I was held captive to my environment because, you know, a $677 welfare check and an $800 check to look after Andre, and my rent $1,700. You know, my hydro's coming in at almost $300 every 2 months. Gas in the wintertime is coming in at $400 a month. You know, $100 in the summer because I had a house full of kids in it, right? You know what I'm saying? I had cable, I had phone. I had no money for food, people. So in those days, I justified doing the yard work as being grateful to have the ability to plant food, being that I had no money to buy food, right? Basically, okay, so, you know, you try and look on the bright side, but in the meantime, I'm getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and if my eyeballs are feeling like they want to pop out of my freaking eye sockets, what does that tell you? We can't be surprised, people, that I'm not blind today, okay? We just can't, because of the hours that I put into this yard under so-called quote-unquote routine maintenance, which there was nothing routine about it. So in this little bit that I'm going to show you here, now, I was already in the back doing whatever. I've been all over this freaking yard doing shit. Almost everything, doing something almost every day. With a lot of those days, Andre outside with me because, you know, he's in my care. And I had to bring him outside with me. So he's running around being a little jungle bunny. But besides that point, I guess on the 24th, I was in the back planting seeds, either starting them as seedlings to plant more food, extra food for the landlord, as I was doing other things in the yard, as well as I was working in a garden box planting more seeds, right? Parsnip, carrots, and beets. And then, I guess on the 25th, I went in the front and I mowed the grass. Right, because, you know, I have to do yard work. I have to keep up with the yard, right? So now I'm in the front mowing the grass. And this is on the 26th, where I'm showing how nice everything looks. In terms of the flowers were blooming, you know, the grass was nice.
So it's May 26, 2017?
Yeah. I mean, you can see, right? Nothing looking like riffraff. And remember I told you that one time when the city dude came? I'll show you what he did. And you know, when they came and they complained that everything was gray, and I told you he took a picture of a brick, and I'm like, why are you taking a picture of that brick? Like, what is the point? He goes, oh, well, you know, he didn't really explain it. No, he took the picture of the brick where it was, not to show that where it was. He took the picture of the brick so that he had a picture of a brick so that he could complain that that's why he was there. When in fact, I'll show you where he took this picture in terms of how it was a setup, okay? Because at this time, the city, I think they showed up in June. But I'm already been working in the yard like a dog since April. So much so that I'm waking up having to turn my head upside down just to blow out my nose as my eyeballs are ready to pop out, with my ears ringing, with me waking up sick, like literally sick from working in this stupid yard, okay? But they call somebody, well, okay, so let's just look at this for a minute.
For some reason, I have a lot of purple flowers in my yard.
So all the flowers are blooming.
And then into July, you're going to see a lot of yellow.
Yeah, the
ones.
purple flowers come first, and then by June or July, the yellow ones start to come, right? But don't forget, with what just happened with the city of Surrey, my landlord and my son, half of those flowers that were growing are all gone and dead and disappeared. Okay, they've been thrown out, trashed, whatever. They're gone. You're not going to see that many flowers this year. And Mr. Gill said plant flowers. No, I don't even have. No, I maybe have a few seed packets downstairs. If I can find them, I'm just going to throw them in the ground. If they grow, they grow. If they don't grow, people, I'm serious. I'm sick. I'm sick. I'm sick, okay? I don't feel that well. You can hear it in my voice. You know, it's a struggle for me to do things. And I was sick in 2017, and I ignored it, okay? But I'm not, I'm not, it's whatever. Just, let's watch.
It's yellow and orange. But right now, we're into purples. Everything's purple and pinks. Look at this. I mowed the grass yesterday.
Yeah, I mowed the grass yesterday while I was working in the yard the day before in the back.
Cleaned the pond.
I cleaned the pond. Wow, every day. Look how nice that is. Oh, well, why can't you be like everybody else? Why can't you have flat grass? Well, all this over here was nothing but weeds. Weeds. All this from all the way down to the road was nothing but weeds. The only reason I did all this that way was to get rid of the weeds, and that took a couple years to figure out how to do that. And eventually I just built over the weeds, covered it up with some landscaping fabric, put the raspberries in there, and I finally did get rid of the weeds. But the only thing that really holds them back at that spot in the yard is the landscaping fabric, people. Yeah, but it took me a couple of years to figure that one out.
I'm going to upload this video today. Look at all these purple
Yeah, purple flowers.
flowers.
Those are all gone. I'd be very surprised if they come back. They might.
And purple flowers over there. See, the yard looks much better now. I mowed the grass, right?
Yeah, and then over here, I was digging up the dirt to plant more food for my landlord. Remember? Right? Just a few videos back.
It's a nightmare, but I'm working on it. You can see.
I was digging all that up, taking out those god-awful roots of morning glory and
celery,
that marrow thing that was coming, and
squashes or
just
cucumbers,
crazy crap.
some potatoes. Then we're going to put beans in here. There's a kale. This is leeks. Right, this is a herb. That's my little jojob tree. There's those raspberry bushes. I put this screen up on here to keep their grapevine on that side.
Which has basically been decimated now, ever since they cut down the Norway maple tree, which, by the way, at the end of the block where that duplex was, and they turned it into a parking lot after they tore it down, they cut down all those mature trees that were there all in a row. Three trees, fully mature trees. They probably cut another one off to the side there. At least 4 that I can think of. Yesterday. Well, no, today, because we're still on April 2nd. Yeah. They're just killing all the trees out here, people. All the mature freaking trees. They're killing them. The pine trees, the Norway maples, the spruce trees, the weeping willows, the oak trees, white oak trees, the walnut trees, all the trees, all those medicinal horse chestnut trees. Oh my God, you don't even know. It just makes me so sick. And then we wonder why India is burning up, because that's what they do in India. They cut down all their fucking trees. Yeah. And then they come here and cut down all the trees.
Going that way and that way. And then I'm going to put tomato plants in there. Look how nice the grass is.
Yeah, look how nice the grass is. Why can't you be like everybody else? I didn't have a yard like everybody else. God, if life was so easy just to have flat grass like that, take a lawnmower to it once twice a month, boy, oh boy, I would have had so much time to sew. I would have had so much time to be a better grandmother to my grandchild. I could have done, hell, I could have done a lot of freaking things, people. But no, I had to be in the dirt so that I'd wake up in the morning sicker than a dog, putting my head between my legs, blowing out my freaking nose as my eyeballs were ready to pop out, and then get up and brush it off and go back outside and work all over again to only have some fucking bullshit asshole show up at my door and tell me that I wasn't doing enough with the whip on my back. So they could build a case. Yeah, okay. All right. Now, do you see these? Do you see this? Okay, so we've got this part here with the raspberries, the blueberries. Okay, I have to do this, people, in order, because if I didn't do this and that, all this area in here was nothing but these deep-rooted weeds that would just never go away. I sprayed them with Roundup. They went away for a little while, and then they came back with a vengeance. I got tired of digging with the pitchfork the same freaking weeds over and over again, to the point where I just said, to hell with it. I dug them up, I tarped them up, and then I just got underlay, garden landscaping paper, landscaping fabric, right? And I covered it up. I put the blueberry bushes over there because I had from the back, and I transplanted, okay. And then I put rocks in here, and, okay, do you see these bricks? Do you see these? I had to border it off, okay? It goes all the way down to here. When that city dude came, the one that was complaining that the yard was too gray because they came in April and nothing was blooming yet. And I'm like, well, what do you mean the yard is too gray? Obviously, it's, we're just going into spring. We haven't even gotten into spring yet. Nothing's blooming yet. Of course it's going to be gray, right? Blah, blah, blah. And he running around. He goes, oh. And then he comes over here. And he takes his cell phone and he puts it right down, basically on the brick. And he takes a picture of the brick. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? At the time, I didn't know what he was doing. I'm like, that's awfully odd. Why are you doing that? It's just, it's a border, it's a brick. He goes, yeah, I know. Oh, and then he walks off and he doesn't answer my question. I bet you if I was to go to City Hall, I don't know if I can get those pictures that they were taking pictures of. And by no means am I saying that this yard has been perfect, because obviously it hasn't been, but it's been far from routine maintenance, okay, with nobody helping me. So, but I'm just curious to know if I'd find that brick with that picture with that brick, because if that's one of the pictures that he used as a means to come to the house and get me working even harder in the yard, because I've always been working in the yard. You see, that's the point, right? But just to build a case to say that I haven't been working in the yard, which is a bunch of fucking crock, okay? Pictures, sure, they speak 1,000 words, but I've already spoken 1,000,000 words with my videos, okay? I think 1,000,000 words speak louder than 1,000 words in this situation, right? So I'm curious to know if I was to go to City Hall and ask to, see these pictures, if I'd see that picture with him looking over this brick. Because when they come and they give you a citation, they'll say cinder blocks. You're not allowed to have cinder blocks in your yard. Well, yeah, if you got them scattered all over the place, looking stupid, but if you're using them as a border to maintain on weeds and whatever, then you can't say that it's not, an asset to the yard, right? In terms of, if I could have had flat grass there, I would have left it alone. But it wasn't, and this isn't even all grass. There's a lot of buttercup in here, and clover, right? Not buttercup, but a lot of clover is in here, and moss. But, it's still in a semblance of some sort of grass, right? If this would have been over here and over here, do you honestly think I would have taken my life and put it on hold to do all this? Hell no. No, I would have been satisfied with just taking a freaking lawnmower and mowing it over. But it wasn't like that, people. It was some kind of weed infestation that just wouldn't go away. And it was spreading. I had to do something about it. Otherwise, it just would have kept spreading out. So I put those cinder blocks down just to, right? And I told you what I did. But this dude, when they came and he was saying it was too gray. And I'm like, what do you mean by gray? And he's running around and he's looking for things for gray. And he ran to the brick over here. And he put his camera down on the ground like this. And he took a picture of the fucking brick. And I'm like, why are you doing that? You know, can't you see? It's a border. Like, what's the problem? And in the brick are little plants that grow in there, right? And they're, you know, they're little sucklings or whatever you call them. All the way down. You can see. Right? Where am I? They're all the way down. And they grow little white flowers and stuff when they go into bloom. And he taking a picture of a fucking brick so that he could say that on his file there that I had bricks in my yard. But the whole picture, you see, that's the point. He never showed the whole picture. And clearly my yard was looking nice with the flowers blooming and everything. You know, all the purple flowers, they're all over the place.
There's more purple flowers.
Yeah, more purple flowers. We've seen the purple flowers over there.
Right. Little pink flowers.
Pink flowers.
This is screen. Where am I? Right. More purple.
More purple.
Here's my front raspberry bush. You can see I let it grow wild. It does its own thing every year in terms of branching system. Look how beautiful that is. So graceful. It's just so graceful. That's what it reminds me of. Grace. You know, easy flowing. Look how beautiful and healthy this thing is. Now, do you honestly think that these people are going to look after their...
I'm talking about the Korean neighbors when the Koreans used to live across there, right?
That's why they put it on this side of the fence. But I told Andre, I'm going to write them one more note. I'm going to let them know that if they don't move their raspberry bush, we're going to call the police on them. I
thought that was kind of funny when I heard that. Oh, Andre, we're just going to call the police on the neighbors because they planted the raspberry bush by the fence. And Nana doesn't want the raspberries to cross over the fence. So we're going to call the police on them. Oh, I kind of chuckled on that. Like these things, right? I gathered those up from properties that were being busted up and torn down to build these god-awful freaking ugly-looking buildings that nobody wants, except for maybe some investor that's laundering money. Okay, so that I can control weeds and make the yard look nice. As, you know, I'm being gang-stalked, right, and blindsided over a freaking cinder block that's down there, being told that the yard is too gray in the middle of April. Yeah, okay. Okay.
When they start spreading. And the police can come talk to them about their raspberry roots. Because this is what they do, people. They spread out.
If that isn't a Karen, I don't know what is.
But you see here, I don't mind because I'm going to take off another 5 or 6 feet.
Yeah, do you see? Right? Do you see how the little plants are growing in here? I don't see the coloring, but I can see, you know, I can see the shadowing, right? You can see, right? You can see, right? Things are growing in him, eh? Right? And then they get into little white flowers, okay? All the way down, right? To control, because I don't know what was wrong with that. And he just came, and because nothing was growing in April, you didn't see any of this. It was just, you know, it was all dormant, right? Because these are sucklings. They come out in the spring and summer, right? And bloom by fall. And he just put his camera down like that and took a picture. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, that is kind of gray, I suppose. But he didn't show the whole picture. He didn't show what the brick was there for. He just wanted to take a picture of a brick so that he could justify writing it down that, you know, there was bricks there. Cinder blocks. They call them cinder blocks, which is a form of a brick, right?
And just extend this for planting.
Like really crooked shit out here, people. I'm telling you.
It's not an emergency right now, or even 4 feet, maybe 4 or 5 feet. Right? So those ones can stay.
And I didn't want to do any of that, people. I had better things to do, like my sewing and whatever, right? Be a better mom to my kids. You know, whatever was going on. There was many things I could have been doing versus doing this crap. But, you know, I was here. I was stuck. Right? I had to do something with it.
There for now. But as they're popping up around here and on the other side, I'm taking them out. Right? And I'm laying down borders inside to contain them. And those people, they don't care. So, anyway, you can see how pretty that is. I know it moves around. Hold on. Did this camera kick out? There we go. Can't see, it's the screen. And then...
Yeah, and then
more purple flowers. Do you
more
see
purple
them?
flowers.
And then we've got purple over here.
Purple over there.
No, more purple flowers.
More purple flowers.
Flowers are there. Purple flowers everywhere.
Yeah.
And then we've got something that's coming in as a maroon behind it.
And I can guarantee you half of them are all gone now because of what just recently happened.
Which will bloom very soon.
As I'm being told to plant more. I don't think so.
Right?
I'm not in the mood to be putting my head between my legs and blowing out my nose. With my eyeballs popping out. With what's left of my eyeballs, that is.
And then look that, there's more purple flowers.
More purple flowers.
Got purple flowers everywhere.
But yet the city comes in fucking June and says I'm not doing enough. Can you imagine that? Gets me almost evicted in October because I'm not doing enough. Okay. Okay.
Yes, this is what we're featuring here. This is...
So even when you got it looking nice, even though you're out there almost every day, for hours and hours and hours, from front to back to side to left to up and down, all around town, in the yard, it's still not enough. Right? All it takes is one cinder block to build a case, people. Just one cinder block. In April. With it looking gray. For them to have another little piece of paper in their fucking file to say that I'm a shit-ass person that doesn't care about nothing. Yeah, okay.
the pond.
Look at that. Wow, isn't that nice? I cleaned that. Andre and I were going to get out there and we're emptying out this little pond out there. We're going to patch it up and we're going to clean it and we're going to fill it back up. Yeah, get it running again.
I'm going to feed these fish. Hold on.
Oh, I still had fish.
It is so cool watching them.
But it's too small. They're not safe. In the bigger pond, they'd have a better chance to survive if I put fish in there. That one was too small.
I take this pallet and I put it right over it. Right, at least for now. Now raccoons, they can't.
Yeah, and those things that I had for the big pond, they're gone. They were chucked out. My son threw them out because the landlord said get rid of everything. Get rid of all Judy shit. Just get rid of it all.
Can't really see. Right? They do everything by touch. That's how they smell and that's how they see. Oh, I can't see in this camera. Let's do it this way.
Because it gets too much sun, so you have to build in a little bit of a shade.
It's because the screen itself is no good anymore. It records okay, but it's really hard to see in the screen because it's lost a lot of its resolutions from keep going out. I came out here earlier and I fed them, so that's why they're not eating right now. But you can see them in there, right? So I lay down this at night, just to...
It keeps shade, right? It keeps things from falling into the pond, and it helps to protect the fish from the raccoons. But that pond was too small.
Try and protect them a little bit, right? I'm not too sure about this. I don't know about this screen underneath it.
That held up pretty good for quite a few years, but after a while, the wood starts to rot because of the rain, right? The rain is very hard on things outside. Extremely, extremely hard.
Maybe if it's toxic or something when the rain hits it. So now I got up this morning, then I got nervous. But I don't think so. It's just another netting, right? I can always bring it out later and give it a good spray, But it's been outside. I found that outside, what's underneath, not the top, because I double layered it, right? The bottom layer I found in the field, And then top layer, it was plastic.
Yeah, I don't have a car anymore. I can't see. It's not like I can go scrounging around for free stuff for a yard that nobody appreciates anyway, okay, when it comes to my efforts to make it look nice. You know what I'm saying?
That I had bought a couple, 2-3 years ago, just never used it. It sat in my shed. So it came in handy today, and it came in handy yesterday.
So May 26th
So anyway,
of 2017.
These little memories that I'm building with Andre,
Yeah, okay.
He helped with this. He's learning a lot, people, right? He was in here with the net, taking out the things that were floating around in the water. You know, he wanted to get in there and start wiping things down and carry.
And now he's going to get out there next week, within the next week or so, and help me clean it. As we plan to build a waterfall for the big pond, in theory.
The buckets, and he wanted to fill up the pond, and you know, he wants to do everything, and he does.
As we're being told that we're not doing enough.
When he can.
But yet we need to do more.
Doing what I allow him to do, right? You see those things? They're beautiful down there. It's such a nice feeling. Oh. So, I don't know. I just want to leave this on a positive note. Come on, baby. Come up. Come up. Come up. Oh, yes. The big one's name is Michael. And the small one is Fred. A little boy that came by and visited with his grandma and their little friend. They said the big one and the middle one doesn't have a name yet. And the little boy said, well, how will we call the big one Michael? I said,
Well,
okay.
it looks like I keep talking about these fish for a while.
Where, for what purpose? Do you remember?
No.
It's so cool. I fed them the other day
Yeah.
and they all freak.
I guess it's all about what
The
is
screen
this?
flaps, people. Can you see anything in that screen, Andre? Look in the screen.
What are we
Can you
looking
see
at? Are we
anything?
still
I can't
looking at
see
the
anything.
pond?
I do.
A little bit, but what do you see? Nothing.
Fish.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. Doing good.
Andre,
Fish, get out of
Okay, don't keep it in the pond, Andre.
was driving a
Okay, people, so I do
An electric-
my work.
lawnmower.
You have breadcrumbs.
What
on
were
your
you
face.
driving? What kind of lawnmower? What was it called?
Breadcrumbs.
What was the lawnmower you were driving? Huh?
My backpack's a really bad crank.
What was the lawnmower you were driving?
It's one that you sit on and you
Look,
have
Dad,
a steering wheel and gas.
It's a gas-powered...
Not gas powered, it's electric.
Oh, it's an electric-powered lawnmower that you sit on and it has a steering wheel. That's what Andre was doing.
Yeah, okay.
And he was learning how to use a pressure washer, too.
Find it first.
So he's got himself a little job now, eh? Yeah,
So the
all
pond
summer
is
long.
done.
Yeah.
Anyway, a cover. I screened
Anyway.
the cover here. You'll see.